Welcome to Endurance Dad, the podcast for anyone striving to break their limits. I'm Dr. Domingo Molina, a dad, husband, and endurance athlete who went from struggling to jog a mile to crossing the Ironman finish line. Here, we dive into training, mindset, nutrition, and the relentless pursuit of growth. Because the toughest step isn't the last one, it's the first. Whether you're gearing up for your first race or pushing toward an ultra, you're in the right place. Let's get after it.
Hey, well, thanks for, joining me and being part of the show. It was kind of random how we met. I saw your message and, I was busy with the kids yesterday and, just had stuff and I was like, oh, I'm going to look at it later. And then I came across your Instagram and I saw the documentary reel that you did and I was like, oh my gosh, I got to talk to this guy.
Well, it's an honor and I appreciate it, you reaching out.
Yeah, and I was just kind of amazed by your story, and just wanted to hear more about it, how you grew up and the things, it's funny, people always think that their problems are the worst, until you hear somebody else's story and you're like, man, that really, really touches me. And, because I always like to tell people my story, I was almost 300 pounds at one point and got off the couch, started losing weight, getting better. But for you, it was a little bit different. I mean, you had heart failure. And then, this morning you told me you're on dialysis. So what's the dialysis about? What's going on there?
Oh, yeah. So once my heart kind of was shutting down, the organs in my body started to shut down. So my kidneys started to shut down like immediately right after my heart wasn't doing well. So I like to say I'm on the road to victory. For every mess, you could turn it into a message. And, that's why I'm here. I remember I went to the doctor and my blood pressure was so high, the doctor said, you're a walking a miracle. And I just never forgot that, So
how did it start? Take me back to the beginning, So you were you working on the Ellen DeGeneres show at that point, or that was before? Or?
No, this is way before. We're going to go back to the beginning. Let's go all the way back to where the trauma started. So, and I just realized this probably like a year or two ago. Like growing up, my mother had dropped out of high school. My father had dropped out of high school. I grew up not knowing, just looking for something to push me forward, something to idolize. Dad had left the house and grew up with like really no material to be inspired and conquer the world head on. So, I just grew up just looking for that, trying to find that. So, every day was like, let's go to school. All we have to do is get a 65 and then we accelerate. And that was my mentality all over life. All I got to do is the bare minimum just to get ahead. So I'm an expert at surviving, but I have no clue what it feels like to thrive. Growing up in the Bronx, New York, and I remember one day, this shattered my whole confidence. All the confidence I had, this shattered. I remember being about 7, 8, 9 years old, filling out, back in the day, they had the crossword, and you win prizes, like the sweet state. Yeah, filling out the sweet states. And I remember going to my neighbor and asking him, can you check this? And he said, you did everything right, but you probably won't win because of your zip code. And for about 20 years, every time I I didn't even try. Every time I wanted to attempt something, that voice came in my head. You probably won't win because of your zip code. You probably won't win because of your zip code. And, I know it might sound like minor to everybody else, but that voice stuck with me for a very, very long time. A very long time. And I didn't try out for basketball teams, no sports, because I was always timid. I was always shy. I didn't have the confidence that I looked for. So I lived life like that for a long time. But you know what saved my life, kinda? COVID. COVID was like Y2K. Remember, everybody said the world was ending?
Yep.
And I remember COVID, I was just turning 30. And I told myself, all right, this is it. You too old to be afraid of what you want. You too grown to be afraid of what you want. And if COVID is gonna end the world, go out on empty. Live every dream that you ever had, every idea that you ever had. It's time to bring it to life. So COVID, while everybody was dying in COVID, it actually brought me life. And, you know, I got out of survival mode. And I told myself, if I'm gonna go, I'm gonna go thriving.
And so tell me a little bit about when you were growing up. Did you what were you exposed to there in the Bronx? Did you end up going down some wrong paths, or did you?
Oh man, I was in the gang for 2 days. 2 days. I was in the gang for 2 days. Once I figured I couldn't smile, I dropped out and lived a normal life. But growing up, I played this thing called garbage ball growing up, where we took the trash out of garbage and it got 10 of my friends and ran full court just shooting into a garbage basket with a real basketball. And sometimes we played like other buildings in our community, and we had a referee just playing. Picture that, just running up and down, 10 of us playing garbage ball. And the funny thing about it, it was 10 different basketball courts all 2 minutes away, but we just stuck there. Stuck together, because we didn't know. We had no clue, being 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 years old. You know, we were masters at making something out of nothing, making the best of what we had. Even growing up, borrowing my neighbors, you know, I'd get a knock on the door. My best friend, which was my neighbor at the time, he would tell me, let me get 1 slice of cheese. I'm trying to make a grilled cheese. Or my neighbor from upstairs, she would come down and say, could I borrow the seasoning from the pack of oodles of noodles? I like, what are you trying to make? So,
oh, man, that's crazy.
So it was good times. It was really, really good times. No worry. This is the time where you were able to walk out your house with no cell phone, no ID, no house keys, no car keys.
Yeah, those are the good old days, man.
And just be free.
When did you start struggling with the weight issue?
I'm gonna be as transparent as possible. I started struggling when I realized I was too timid to conquer every dream I had. When my first dream and my first love was basketball, I promised myself I was going to make it to the NBA. Got to high school, I played vigorously every day, from the time the sun went up to the sun went down. I would play recreational basketball. But when it came to try out for school, I was always timid. I was always scared. You know, I always thought I wasn't good enough. I didn't think I was worthy enough. You know, I always looked down on myself. So I started picking up the weight after I graduated high school and realized, like, all right, we wanted to play basketball. That didn't come true. We wanted to go to college. I dropped out about 4 times. And I finally, last month, I got my bachelor's degree. February 6th.
Oh, congratulations.
It took me 19 years to get a 4-year degree.
Better late than never, right?
Absolutely. But yeah, once I realized everything I wanted to come true, and I realized life doesn't happen the way you want it, like life will really fight you. And you have to fight back. And I wasn't the type of person to fight back. So that's when I started putting on the weight. Instead of playing basketball, I started looking for the love and food and alcohol and drugs, you know, just trying to fill that void, because my purpose started going down to zero. I didn't have any purpose.
So when did you start feeling bad then that you went to the hospital?
It was 2018. I'll never forget. I used to work at HBO, and I worked Thanksgiving. In New York, HBO headquarters is on the same avenue as the parade. So I remember walking 1 block from the train station to HBO headquarters on Times Square, and I could not breathe. I couldn't breathe at all. Like, it was about 15 degrees outside, and I'm sweating bullets. I was sweating bullets to the point smoke is coming out my head, and I'm out of breath just from walking 1 block. And I got to the job, everybody had to tell me, take a break, sit down. And then I told myself, right after the shift, I'm going to the hospital.
How heavy were you at that point?
I was 300 pounds. It got so bad when I went to the doctor said, if you come with your blood pressure this high, I'm going to punch you in the face. He said, we're going to fight. He said, we're going to fight.
And so at that point, did you start making changes, or did it still persist for a while until...
You know what's crazy about just being human? I started feeling better and going back into the same habits. I started feeling better going back to the same habits.
That wasn't the point that you had the heart failure then, was it?
Yeah, that was the heart failure.
And so you didn't start dialysis then, or when did you start dialysis?
I started dialysis 2022, April Fools, April 1st. That'll be 3 years.
Oh my gosh.
3 years.
And so during that time, when did you start saying, hey, I'm going to start losing weight, working out, doing stuff?
When did I start? I guess when the doctor said it's either do or die. The doctor said if you keep continuing on this path, keep drinking soda, keep eating McDonald's, not exercising, you're going to die. And for me, that's all I needed to hear, because we just had survived COVID. This is 2022. We just getting out of COVID. And we were the lucky and fortunate ones enough to survive it. I lost a lot of people during COVID, a lot of loved ones. So, being that I came out of it, and then, or because of my drinking and eating habits, I got sick, and that's what caused the kidney failure. And I had to be honest with myself. I'm like, what am I doing? I know.
Were you drinking at that point?
Man, I drank it all. I drank it all. I tried to drink it all. When we was in COVID, mind you, I got my own apartment and I lived by myself. So during lockdown, it was just me and the bottle, and I would drink till I pass out and wake up, and drink till I pass out again, wake, and then go to work. And then, this was only days off. I was a functional alcoholic. I know some people that aren't functional alcoholics, like they black out, they pass out, or they wind up spending the rest of their lives in prison over a drink, over something they did while I was functional. I get too drunk, I go home, go to sleep. But I was drinking a gallon of Tito's, gluten-free rocker. I was drinking a gallon in a weekend, every weekend.
And so you went on the dialysis then, or you got sick, and then after that, what happened? You just shut everything down and said, hey, I'm going to not do this anymore? Or?
Slowly. So I remember my last day drinking was December 25th, 2022. So I wasn't drinking really. Like, I was still, because the thing that got me was like family functions. At the family functions, everybody having a good time. So I wanted to feel like they felt and had a good time. But the last time I drank was Christmas. I went to a Christmas party. I had 4 shots of tequila. And then the next day, I could not get out of bed. It felt like death. Like, it felt like the Reaper was over me, standing over me saying, what you gonna do? And then from that day, I've been sober. From that day, December 25th, 2022.
That's crazy. So tell me, because we've gone a little bit back and forth through your story, what is your goal now? You're doing a little bit of music, right?
Yeah.
And where are you working at now?
So I'm actually building my brand's Fantastic and Only Improving consists of t-shirts. I actually go out to schools and speak to children, let them know that I made the mistake, so you don't have to, you don't have to experience that. My message is just self-love, love yourself enough to make godly decisions.
What do you think your mistake was? Was it just turning to drinking and food? And, I grew up in South Texas, predominantly they were all Mexicans, right? I mean, I'm Mexican, and I wasn't super poor, but, I ate ramen noodles all the time. We played outside. We didn't have, so maybe I was poorer than I thought. You don't think about those things when you're growing up.
Right.
And so, there's, I guess the message to hit home is really, take care of yourself before it's too late, and I think that's what I think you're trying to get at is...
Yes, you don't want to wait until it's do or die. You don't want to survive, just survive. You want to, why not thrive while you're here? Why not learn how to thrive and then show other people how to thrive? You know, reciprocity.
So if you could go back and tell your 15-year-old self or even your 20-year-old self some advice, what would it be? What would you tell them? Hey, look out for this or do this.
You know, I would tell them, whatever you do it, and it's positive. Do it. Do the best you can with everything. You know, quick story. I went to do yoga for the first time. A friend of mine, she introduced me to it, and now we sitting in the class, and the class is packed. But guess what? I'm the only 6'5" black person in the class. And I don't know how to do any of the positions, any of the moves. And the old me would have been discouraged and quit. You know, I would have just walked out and gave up. But the new me said, just do your best. Do the best you can. All right, let's stop trying to be the best and just do the best you can. Even the instructor came up to me and said, "Why you have so much problem trying to get it?" And I'm telling her, I'm doing my best. I never did this before. You know, I was a huge distraction and everything. But for me, the confidence came in just doing my best.
I think it's a matter of just getting out there, you know, and taking that chance. And, you know, I tell people all the time, you know, and it happened to me, you know, when there was a time when I couldn't run down the block. And you're going to hurt, you know, you got to push past it and it's going to be uncomfortable and you got to make it to the other side because a lot of people stop. As soon as it becomes uncomfortable, people stop.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with you 100%.
Tell me about the little snippet of the Ellen DeGeneres show because I think that's a little bit interesting.
Oh, yeah. So I was security at CNN, Cable Network News, and my job was basically to escort the journalists inside, pick them up and drop them off. And while I was doing that, I was just building relationships, you know, picking their brains, trying to get out of survival mode, because I was around excellence. No matter what your personal opinions of them, they did their job at the highest level. I wanted that to be contagious. I wanted to do something at the highest level too. So, and all of them was open-hearted. All of the journalists was open-hearted and open-minded, and they gave me everything they had. So I came up with this idea of putting Fantastic and Only Improving on a t-shirt and just giving it out to everybody at the job. And then one day, Baldwin, she was the host of the CNN show. She was a guest host for the Ellen DeGeneres show. The producers over there reached out to me to be on the show, and it was magic. Ever since after then, life-changing.
So how did it change after that? What?
I saw all the, you know, I made a couple of dollars. I got exposure. You know, I got to rub elbows with some incredible people. But the most important thing were the comments. The people reached out to me and to tell me what my story meant to them. You know, I had a friend I went to junior high with, and he was incarcerated. And he reached out to me and said, "I watch you from my cell. If this wasn't the most inspiring thing I've ever seen in my life." And he said, "Thank you." And then he said, "The first thing I want to do when I get out is buy a sweatshirt." So I sent them a sweatshirt. I had teachers telling me that they showed my interview to their class just to be an example of that you can be in the dark and not know which way to go and still try to find the light. You know, and people just from all over the world, Australia, Germany, Scotland, the UK, here in the United States, all just impacted by my story. It meant so much to me. Because I didn't know, if you would have told me while I was out playing garbage ball, shooting the threes, that my story would mean so much. That just put the battery in my back to continue trying to do great things.
So what was the dark time? I mean, I feel like you're holding back on me, man. Like the dark time of, you know, was it just growing up or was it, you know, when you got sick and after that?
All right. So When I was young, when I was still in elementary school, I came to find out how my dad was on drugs, and then my parents had divorced and split up. You know, it was the two people I idolized the most. My dad was my hero, even on drugs. Still my hero. And my mom, she's my hero because she had to take the load off when my father disappeared. So, and I never wanted to see my moms cry. I never wanted to hurt my moms. So that's what kept me doing a 65 and staying out of trouble and staying out of jail, you know. But I was hurt because I needed my father in my life. You know, I wanted that role model. You know, growing up, it was just the coolest thing was ignorance, like not knowing. Like you ask somebody something, like, I don't know. And that was cool. And the drug dealers. And then dealing with that, how we grew up sexualizing women, you know, growing up, we was eager to like lose our virginities and stuff. So dealing with all this pressure and still, like, I remember in public school, and I was just talking to my best friend about it, being in 3rd grade, instead of our science teacher teaching us science, she's teaching us how to not get cut by the Bloods and Crips and the rival gangs. She's saying it was a thing at the time when they would say, the teacher told us you might get asked what time it is, and as soon as you look at the watch, they'll slash you in the neck. This is our 3rd grade science teacher telling us this. Instead of teaching us the lessons we need to learn. That, I mean, at the time, again, we just trying to survive. But as an adult, I thought about that. I said, this is crazy. This is crazy. So those were the dark times, and I guess it was hard to let those type of scenarios and situations escape my mind and those experiences. It was hard to let go and move on. So I guess to sum it up, those were the dark times. The dark times when I was holding on to things where I needed to let them go and experience new things.
So do you think getting sick kind of helped you just change the whole script? Or like, were you still, you know, it sounds like you were still kind of dealing with all that even into your 30s before you got sick. And then was that just the breaking point then, or?
Yeah. And if I'm being honest with you, it had a lot to do with the workplace. Like, my friend, my best friend, he tells me, you're not a good guy, but you pretend to be a good guy, if that makes sense. He said, you pretend to be a nice person, but you're not really a nice person. So I would go to work and put the mask on to be a nice person to everybody. And when I would get off of work, I wasn't really nice to myself at all. I was nice to everybody but me. So I used a lot of energy outward, and I wasn't refueling on putting the energy back in.
Yeah.
You know, I guess that's what really got me sick, being phony and try to please everybody and avoiding confrontation, you know, not standing up and speaking up for myself.
So where are you going to go from here? What's your plan now for your brand? You know, you're doing a little bit of music too, right? Or?
Yeah, absolutely. I actually been writing music since 2003. Since I was in high school, you know, I've always been a horrible communicator. I don't know if you could tell or not. So I started a podcast and really started writing music so I could learn how to effectively communicate with people. You know, even if, because a lot of times you'll become inferior, thinking that people are on a pedestal when people are just like you. You know, it's little difference between you and I, but our mind will tell us like, this person is far more superior than us. And I struggle with that a lot too. So I wanted to learn how to use words to actually touch people. So that's what started the music. That's what started the podcast. Man, I love to watch a movie. I could cry too. You know, I just think words are physical at times. And I wanted to master the language of English.
Yeah, no, and you know what? That's part of your story, though, you know, is really overcoming adversity, you know, growing up, like you said, just trying to maintain a 65, you know, and that's, And that's, I think, what really touched me with your story was, we're all the same, and that's the whole purpose of my podcast too, is how to get just everyday people to get motivated, whether it's working out or, like you said, going to school, finishing that degree, and really just taking care of ourselves, because, your body's cashing checks that you may not be able to pay in the future, And so I see a ton of people every day, just taking care of people. I had a little old lady a few months ago tell me, "Dog, what can I do about my back?" and do all this stuff. And I'm like, man, it's too late now. You can't do anything about it. You've been smoking all these years and, doing all this stuff to yourself. Later on, then we're like, well, now what do we do? So I went through that just recently. I had gone up and down. When I did my triathlons, it was 2014, and then life got in the way. I gained a bunch of weight back, kind of shot up back to 250, and my blood pressure was getting high, and you know how that is. And so I thought, man, I got to make a change too, and so.
What you think was the cause of that?
Probably a lot, like you said, stress, I think, really just kind of hiding behind stuff, hiding behind food. I wouldn't say, maybe probably feeling sorry for myself, I guess, in a way, but not really outwardly telling myself that, because nobody really tells themselves, oh man, you suck, or, but I think it's just kind of like, how else do you deal with reality than actually being in reality, and I think for me it was, just eating food, trying to keep busy doing other things. My wife has always been working out, but I use the excuse of, oh, I'm going to go up and watch TV while she's doing this. And, whatever it was, I think it was just excuses,
I'm a victim of that too. I love doing nothing sometimes. Sometimes I could just lay in the bed all day and do it. I'm an expert at that. I just love, I got this thing where I say, I don't want to be alone, but I want to be by myself,
That's true. But sometimes I think that that's just part of, maybe, I don't know, compensating is a good word, but just, trying to ignore reality, and trying to be part of it because either stuff's too hard at the moment or too busy. And then the other thing is, when I got up to 300 pounds at one point, it's hard to get back down from that. It's the habits of eating, the cravings, losing 1 or 2 pounds a week, you get discouraged, your pants aren't fitting right, it's hard to work out, and it takes months and months and months and years. And, and I think that's why I went up and down. And actually it wasn't until these, Ozempic came out that I really started losing weight, because otherwise I don't know if I could have done it on my own,
I had a dream about Ozempic last night, and my friends are teasing me, you on Ozempic? But yeah, it's hard to pick up a salad when you've been indulging in burgers.
Especially when you have people around you that, either just don't want to, they're always like, oh, you're eating a salad or you're not going to eat this. And, peer pressure is real, and that goes for not just food, but anything really.
Yeah, I fly to South Carolina tomorrow, and let me tell you the difference between up north and down south. Up north, when you visit family like up north, the first thing they do is introduce you to it with a drink. Down south, the first thing they do is introduce you to some food.
Yeah. Well, shoot, man, growing up, the difference, I tell people when I grew up in Texas, there was food, and, it's probably like just like New York, food everywhere. Doesn't matter what time of the day it was, you could find a 24-hour place to eat food. And so, Mexican food's full of carbs and rice, beans. And so, and honestly, and this is a whole nother topic, but we probably weren't, or we were probably as poor as I thought we were, or even worse, because those are the food you ate, it's cheaper to go to McDonald's and get a Happy Meal or get a hamburger. It's still cheaper now. When I go to a restaurant and then, I take my kids to McDonald's and I get food for all of us for under $30, I'm like, man, McDonald's is still cheap.
Right. And the crazy thing is that the food is the number one reason. The food you eat controls like your emotions and how you feel. So it's crazy. When I used to work in corporate America, you'll see all the people that's executing at the high level at lunchtime. They grab a salad or a smoothie. And all the people that were just average, they got the burgers, the burritos, and stuff like that. Like, success always leaves clues. Success always leaves clues. And a lot of times we fall off the wagon because if our routine is off, our results are off.
Mm-hmm.
If the routine is off, the results are off.
That's crazy that you say that about, I wonder if it's not that we hold down kind of the middle class, but, why is that? Why is it that it's cheaper to go buy the food that's more unhealthy for you than, and everybody, is it just education? Is it just, what do you think it is that people do that?
I think it's the environment. Man, when I was working at CNN and I was escorting the talent back and forth, the number one thing I wish my community was in this environment, because you wanted in that environment, you wanted to execute at the highest level. You wanted to, you watch everybody just perform at such a high level. You wanted to be a part of that. When I used to live with my mother, stepping outside to like drugs and violence and women, that's all we aspired to until we got tired of it. And then when you get tired of it, you realize this can't be it. This can't be it. But when you're in a good environment, you find purpose to pull you through, no matter where you are.
So what would be your advice then on how to get out of that? Whether it's somebody that's living in the Bronx or somebody that's sitting on the couch and 300, 400 pounds, how do they change that environment? How did you change it?
I learned a long time ago that there are good people and there are bad people, good and bad. The whole idea was to try to emulate what's good so you attract good. I'm going to be honest with you. My life didn't start to change until I got up off the couch and started walking. And my cousin, he put me on to this thing of gratitude where as soon as you wake up, you name 20 things that you're grateful for. Soon as you wake up, just name 20 things, and it could be anything. The AC, the pillows, the bed, the sheet, the air. Just opening my eyes, the covers, the water, the toilet for flushing and not being stopped up. Just name 20 things that you're grateful for. And I started to do that, and it carried me through the day because I didn't at all think about what I didn't have, what was missing. I only thought about what I did have and how not to take it for granted. How special what you do have actually is. And the last thing was spirituality. Just thanking God for waking me up, getting more in depth of trying to listen and trying to make it to heaven. Try to make it to heaven. So it's like, God, please tell me what to do. Who could I help? Who could I talk to? What do you want me to do? Just tell me. And being honest. The number one thing, I had a friend come last week. He said, "Are you honest?" He said, "Are you honest?" And I had to really think about it. Yeah, I might be honest with you, but at times I'm not honest with myself. And that's from that point on, it's like, how can I be honest with myself? How can I be honest with myself? Are you honest? Did you do enough today? If I was to die right here, right now, would God tell me, "Well done, my son, well done"? I don't feel that. So every day I have to work. That's something to work toward. Being better, being a better son, better nephew, a better uncle, a better brother,
So what's life have in store for you now? What's like your next goals you're getting into? Or you said you're going to South Carolina.
Yeah, I'm going to South Carolina to perform and practice for my show on April 18th, Friday, in New York City.
Is this the first show you've done? Or?
Yeah, this is I've done shows where it was a bunch of artists as well on the marquee, but this is the first show. It's just me. Oh, wow. It's just me. I'm doing my first concert ever, and I was just so excited. This is 25 years in the making. And I look forward to doing my best and thriving. and being a master at thriving.
And tell me about your brand. So are you going to do mostly speaking engagements, or you say you're doing some swag?
Oh yeah, so I just been talking to the urban kids at middle schools, and just see, because growing up the patterns doesn't change. When I grew up, it was a lot of, you were either a nerd being cool, or class clown, or the person that's in the gang starting trouble. So the cycle just been repeating itself before I was even born. So I just try to speak to the kids and let them know it's okay to break the cycle. Now is where you want to dream and really start laying the foundation of what you're going to be in later lives. Because if you wait like I did, it's never too late, but sometimes I feel like I'm playing catch up, and you don't want to feel like that. I know I could never say I'm too old for music, because music is always timeless, and your music is timeless. But if I was younger, when I was ready to work out, when working out wasn't an obligation,
Yeah.
it'll be more passionate about it. Would be more passionate, more free about it.
So how do you get, and that's a good, perfect question right there, is how do you enjoy working out? How do you get, because I think that's a lot of the people's problem, is they're like, oh man, I don't like to go run, I don't like to do this. What point for you did that light switch on and you were like, okay, I like doing this?
When I had to eliminate working out. So to me, it's not even working out. For me, it's getting fresh air. Let's go get some fresh air. For me, it's meeting new people, whether I'm at the gym or, it's not just working out. I see the beauty, the collateral beauty in everything but working out.
Did they tell you couldn't work out, or did you just take that upon yourself, or did they say, hey man, your heart's too fragile, you're on dialysis, you probably shouldn't do it?
When I first got on dialysis, they said in order to get a kidney, you had to we cannot give you a kidney unless you reach a certain weight. And from there it was game on. It was simple. All I did was I got the key to success from Chris Chrono. And all he said was eat less and do more and move more. Eat less and move more. So I used to order McDonald's about 2 a.m. every night. 2 a.m. every night. And when I caught kidney failure, I was in a hospital for 10 days. 10 days. And I noticed the pattern. They fed me breakfast at 7 a.m., fed me lunch at 12, and dinner was at 5. And then you didn't eat until 7 in the morning again. So I just installed that pattern. I used the same routine when I got home. I had breakfast at 7, lunch at 12, and dinner at 5, and the weight just started. I was a big ginger ale drinker. You look at the sugar in ginger ale, it's 57 grams of sugar.
Oh man, sugar's Cokes and all that. It's bad stuff, man.
So all I did was replace ginger ale with seltzer water, and I immediately started to lose the weight.
See, my wife thinks that I'm crazy because I had hit a weight loss plateau. I was at probably about 210, and I was like, man, I'm not losing more weight. I'm running 30 miles a week. I gave up all the Diet Cokes, artificial sweeteners, boom, lost another 10 pounds. So, people think I'm crazy, but I'm like, man, there's something to it. I don't know what it is, even Diet Cokes, so now I just drink the sparkling water.
My cardiologist, he told me, he said, you give up ginger ale, you'll lose 10 pounds in a week. And that's exactly what happened. The weight just started dropping. The weight, along with not eating before I go to bed, having a big meal and fall asleep on it. Yeah, the weight just immediately, and giving up alcohol, all that, and then walking. I stopped taking the trains and bus and driving, and just started walking New York City. So I walked from the beginning of Manhattan to the end. I walked to different boroughs across the...
Where are you living at now? Are you in Manhattan?
Yeah, I live in Manhattan now, in New York City. Yeah.
All right, we were just up there in December. We like going up there.
And the cold, you left the warm Texas to come to free.
Well, I'm actually I'm in Ohio right now.
Oh, you're in Ohio?
But yeah, we my wife's in love with Peloton, and so we went up there and she did a Peloton class.
Oh, nice.
But yeah, there's so many people though there, man. I was like, oh, I'm gonna run down this, I'm gonna run around Manhattan, run down by the water. Until I never walked around New York before because I've never been up there. And I was like, you can't run in New York. That and the cold, man. The wind's a different thing.
Oh, yeah, you have to buy your coat from New York while you're in New York.
Well, man, I appreciate hearing your story, man.
Yeah.
Like I said, it was touching to me. Did y'all come out with a full documentary, or did you just do the reel?
Yeah, we just did the reel for now. I'm actually in the process of working on another one right now as we speak.
Even those 4 minutes, man, I was like, well, this is a story people need to hear, because that's part of my message in my podcast is, and I tell people I'm not the Joe Rogan experience, right? But if I can just get everyday people's stories out to, because everybody has a story, there's tons of people that walk around and do amazing things, and we don't hear about those stories, and those are the ones I think that we need to hear.
Yeah, I want to hear your story too. I see you're a doctor.
Yeah. So, I grew up, we have some similarities. I grew up in South Texas, and, I slacked off. I knew I always wanted to be a doctor, but I slacked off in high school, failed some classes my senior year. And, so my dad was like, hey, you can work part-time, go to school part-time. He's like, but, you're probably not going to make it to go to school full time. And, I was like, man, I don't want to get stuck down here. South Texas, we called it the Rio Grande Valley. And, people just stayed there, they never left. And so one day I was looking on the internet and monsters.com and looked for a job, and this Navy ad popped up, and I was like, man, I think I'm going to go to the Navy. And I went with it. And nobody in my family had been in the military. I wasn't like a big tough kid growing up, but something just told me, hey, this is the direction you got to take. I knew I'd get paid all the time. I'd always get food, travel, and it was better than just staying at home. So I did that, took off, and the rest is history, really. I came back, went to college, and then that's, I think, where I started struggling. I'd always been kind of heavy growing up and stuff, and I lost a lot of weight going to boot camp in the military, and I had to, I was always struggling to make the weight checks and the PT test when I was in the Navy.
Was that your biggest challenge?
As far as what?
Becoming a doctor.
I'd probably say that may be the biggest challenge, or like you said, just taking care of myself. I'm the smallest that I've ever been in my life right now.
Oh, congratulations.
Thanks. And I think just getting to this point, it was really, my blood pressure was getting high. It's just, I was getting out of breath. I would look at my watch and be like, man, my pulse is 100 just sitting here, and, I was like, there's no way that's my resting heart rate. And so I guess just not really getting scared, but I was just like, okay, I know that this means something, right? Because I was drinking 3 energy drinks a day, Diet Coke the rest of the day, taking pre-workout, if I did work out, ton of caffeine, wasn't sleeping good. And I was just like, I'm invincible. That was my thing. And it, and so then I think it started slowly creeping up on me. And so I think a lot of the biggest challenges people have is really the hidden ones that they don't face every day, that they're hiding. And I think that's the biggest thing that people ignore, So yeah, I would say that, becoming a doctor, that was the easy part. The hard part is, how do you take care of yourself? Like you said, address any trauma that you've had previously. But yeah, I would say now it's different, when you go buy clothes and, and they don't fit bad. And a lot of people don't understand those struggles, I think what it does to you mentally. I would sit in a car and my pants would roll over, and I don't know why that would always annoy me, man. But that was just the thing for me, and I'd sit there and I'd be like, man, and so anyway.
Yeah, I got about 10 suits in my closet that don't fit at all, because I lost 100 pounds.
So how, you still trying to lose more weight, or what?
Yeah. I'm not trying to, right now my goal is to get a 6-pack. I felt like I'd done everything in my life except get a 6-pack.
I thought that too. I was like, my partner, he was like, man, Domingo, what are you trying to get down to? Or, what are you trying to get? And I'm like, I'm trying to get my 6-pack. I was like, but I think now the bad thing is I have so much loose skin and stuff around there and I'm glad. I look on Instagram and I see other people that have horribly like looking skin. They're just as loose because they've lost a ton of weight. And so I'm glad I don't have that, fortunately. But I don't know, man. I may give up the 6-pack goal. I just
You never know, man. You never know.
yeah. Well, man, I appreciate you sitting down with me. You know, I want to help you get to your goals too. I'm gonna catch your live stream. I saw that you can catch a live stream, right?
Yes.
So,
Yes.
all right, I'll catch the live stream.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that, man.
And
It was awesome rubbing elbows with you, and I want to thank you for your service as well.
thank you. And you know, I loved hearing your story, man. I hope that you get it out to more people. I'm gonna help you push it out on my end. And just to know that everyday people can break past those barriers, man, whether it's growing up in the Bronx or you know, whatever it may be. It doesn't, and some people grow up with lots of, you know, opportunities and they still struggle, you know, and so it doesn't have to be, I think everybody, like you said, is the same. You know, we all struggle differently. So, well, keep in touch, man. Like I said, good luck to you and your endeavors, your brand. I'm excited to hear your show. I think you're going to do great, and you're already doing great things. I think you know, and I think something, again, that hits home to me is you never know who you're inspiring, right? Just because somebody doesn't comment on an Instagram post or doesn't like it or doesn't like your stories doesn't mean that they don't hear the message, you know?
Absolutely.
So think about all the people you've already inspired that you don't even know about yet.
Yeah, that's the one thing I gotta say. Just follow the assignment. Just no matter what somebody gives you or what validation you're waiting on, just stay true to your assignment.
I did a podcast this morning, and part of my message at the end was, you know, motivation and discipline. You know, discipline shows up when motivation doesn't. And you just got to go out and do it anyway. It doesn't matter if you want to get up and go work out today. You just got to go do it.
Yes, because for the rest of my life, and this is probably like a 20-step process just to even put the machine together. And it's times I don't want to do it, but in order to live, this is what I have to do. It's times I condemn the machine, like, damn you, but I have to use this machine to stay alive. You know, so you guys are alive without the use of the machine. You should take full advantage.
You know, and there's probably some people that wish they had a machine, right? I mean, think about, there used to be, I guess there's probably still people that have to go to a clinic or somewhere and get dialysis.
Yeah, yes, absolutely.
All right, brother. Well, I appreciate you joining the show, and we'll keep in touch.
All right. What's up, Doc? I always wanted to say that. All right. Thank you, brother.
All right. Thanks.